Hey guys, Big Weir, road to Roota.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of coffee. Really interesting news of last night's dinner. Trump called all the military leaders and their families or their wives to the White House for a dinner. He gave a very brief photo session for the press, and he said something that I think could be very big, could be the trigger is about to be pulled, I believe, on the takedown of the bad guys, which would be huge. And calling all his military leaders to the White House is would be I mean, that's what I would do right before the takedown. So, and it's a big one. It's gigantic. It's the end of the bad guys. If this is what he's talking about. Now, here's what he said, and this is from Zero Hedge. President Trump warns ominously, it's the calm before the storm. Now, the storm, you start releasing, I think this is all kind of triggered by what happened in Vegas. They're finding out it's a lot more than what they're saying. 31 guns were found there. It was clearly not a, he didn't bring those guns to fire them all. They think it was an FBI gun sale. And that's the latest. But, you know, a lot of things don't add up. The pictures don't add up. 3,000 to 4,000 shots were fired. And yet, you know, there's pictures of the floor. There's maybe a handful of cartridges on the ground. The thing would be piled very high with cartridges if they were fired from that spot. And that's, you know, the guns were lying around, and that's the window was right there. Where are the cartridges? There are cartridges. You know, if you saw the dead body of that guy, Paddock, cartridges were lying on top of the blood, meaning that they were discharged after the blood was already, there was some old stained blood on the ground, and then there's a new pile of blood, and there's cartridges lying on top of that stuff with no blood on them. So it's like, okay, how'd that happen? Just so much stuff doesn't add up, but it does add up if you're trying to, if it's one of the deep state's last attempts at creating chaos. And, you know, a lot of people ask me, they're saying, oh, there's no way they could get away with it. Well, they got away with 9/11 scot-free. And there's so much evidence. Over 1,000 engineers have come out and said that skyscrapers can't fall at free fall speed, especially building 7 that didn't get hit by anything fell at free fall speed. So if you understand that if they can get away with 9/11, they can get away with pretty much anything. And it's sad, but hopefully Trump is signaling that the plug is going to be pulled on these guys. He's actually going to drain the swamp. It would make sense right after the end of the fiscal year of the United States. He does it right now over the next couple of weeks. And then obviously when it happens, we're going to see chaos. So we're going to see a lot of the deep state doing stuff like firing hurricanes at the United States and firing off missiles in North Korea. You know, those guys, the bad guys, are in charge of that stuff. So hang tough and hang tight. I think we're about to hit that big storm that the United States has been avoiding for over 100 years, which is the takedown of these bad guys, these criminals that run our lives. But it's a really exciting time. So here's what was said during a dinner with military leaders tonight. President Trump gave an ominous warning, seemingly out of the blue. And he's talking to the press that he invited in. He said, you guys know what this represents? Maybe it's the calm before the storm, he said. It could be the calm before the storm. A reporter quickly asked what the storm might be. Is it Iran, ISIS? What's the storm? He replied, you'll find out. The warning took place during a photo call on occasion of a dinner hosted for U.S. military leaders and their wives, with Donald and Melania attending. Midway through the photos, the president said to reporters, you know what this represents. Maybe it's the calm before the storm, an ominous, loaded phrase considering the context and the present company, which is all his military leaders. So is it maybe they're, you know, there's so many weapons the United States has that, you know, are not talked about. Yes, we can take things out with lasers. We can do all kinds of things. You know, I have night vision goggles. I see what we fly around in the sky at night into the upper atmospheres, and I see all kinds of things going on that we're not told of. So Do we have the ability? Yeah, we can just fire off an EMP above North Korea if we wanted, and fizzle out all the electronics in all of North Korea. There are consequences to that, and it sets a precedent that I don't think we want to set, because that happens over the U.S. and it's over. So there's a lot of jockeying for position, but I do think this has to do with the takedown of the deep state, as triggered by the takedown triggered by what happened in Las Vegas. And that's my take, mind you. This is from the Road to Roota side, knowing that behind the scenes, the good guys are taking out these bad guys. It just needs to come into the open view. And for something like the release of the 650,000 documents off Anthony Weir's laptop, the Hillary Clinton / Podesta / Bush documents. Supposedly there's video, there's tape recorded conversation, pure criminality in our government. And the reason they're holding back, it would cause so much chaos. It involves about a third of Congress. So if you release those documents, or WikiLeaks does, so it's not the president's fault, you've got what they call a constitutional crisis. And there's nothing wrong with a constitutional crisis. We need a constitutional crisis, truthfully. So it's time. I believe it's time. I think Trump this is definitely a turning point for Trump. And if you go back to my analysis of the world in 2017 cover, a lot of that stuff hasn't happened yet. The Trump draining the swamp, and the transition of the monetary system, and all these kind of things that are coming up, leading us to a really glorious future, has been on hold for a long time, since Trump got in, at least. So is it time to drain the swamp? Is he telling the press that the calm before the storm, because he's going to release all the information he has, maybe release a lot of other stuff, all the hidden technologies that the U.S. have? Maybe it's time to unveil what has been hidden from us for so long. We'll see. We will see. The rest of Zero Hedge, I'm going to go over it quickly. Again, like I said, North Korea, the bad guys might fire off everything they got, type of thing. North Korea planning to fire a missile capable of reaching the U.S. Stock slide. Maybe that's what Trump was talking about. We could take that out with a laser in a blink of an eye. So we'll see what happens there. And here's another interesting. The Bureau of Labor Statistics caught fabricating wage data. We already know the government data is a lie upon a lie upon a lie. Problem now is it has been lied about so much, there's no way to get back to what is, the real numbers are. Inflation's not 1 or 2%. Inflation's up in 20, 30%. And the labor force, everything is a lie. And to get from there to the next, if we want to get back to an honest system, we got to admit it. We got to admit that for the past 50 years, we've been rigging everything. And speaking of rigging, Federal Reserve President Kashkari, master of all distractions. How come there's certain professions that reward practitioners for their failure? Kashkari is a computer expert. He's a computer guy, a market rigger. Absolutely, that's how he got put in charge of fixing the derivative problem in mortgage-backed securities. This guy's a computer rigger. I mean, you look at his tech background. But they're all over the place. I think if Kashkari gets put as the head of the Fed, we're screwed. All that means is you got 10 more years of computer market rigging, and nobody wants that, if you ask me. NFL players join Soros to fund leftist activity groups. Absolutely. They're kneeling. When they kneel, they don't kneel against the flag. They don't kneel for what they believe in. They're kneeling to people like George Soros and Hillary Clinton and the leftist group that's trying to take away the culture of America. That's what the kneeling is all about, and they don't even get it. They don't understand. They're kneeling to their God, which will be George Soros if he has his way. So careful what you kneel about. Goldman raises December rate hike odds. Who really cares if the rates go up 1/4 or 0.5%? Obviously, the United States does, because that adds more billions to the debt because at higher interest rates. The problem is they can't raise rates without destroying everything. Everything. And all the pension funds are massively underfunded because the rates have been so low for so long. But that's the whole idea. Destroy the system. So we'll see what's waiting. We'll see what's waiting behind the door, because the waiting is the hardest part Tom Petty. Everybody's referencing Tom Petty these days. So many good songs, so many good lines in his music. Spanish stocks and bonds. Like I said, the Spanish referendum, Catalonia declaring independence, is going to throw a monkey wrench into the EU. And, that term kind of gets tossed about, the monkey wrench. But if you have something that has gears and spokes and everything's coming along perfectly, and you take this big, gigantic piece of steel, this monkey wrench, you throw it in there, everything's going to crash. That's what I think the Spain situation is everything's going to crash. You're going to have a gigantic problem on both sides. Catalonia doesn't have a currency. They would have to be accepted into the EU. The EU would do that in a second, but that leaves Spain all off with their metrics as to are they within compliance of the rules of the EU, because the rules of the EU are very strict. So they're talking austerity for Spain, and Catalonia gets off scot-free. I don't see how it's going to happen. And everybody else is on the brink of teetering as well. Remember, we're approaching 2018. 2018 was the time that the Economist magazine in 1988 said, get ready for a one world currency in 2018. Crazy how everything's kind of ready to fall apart right before 2018. I do think this problem will carry into 2018, and we're gonna see the beginning degradation of everything. I would say it's already begun, but it'll increase in speed and velocity, and everybody will be mad at everybody else for not seeing this coming when everybody in the alt media has been raising their hands saying, oh my God, how are they keeping this shit together? And the way they keep it together is computers and derivatives. In the back rooms of the basement of the U.S. Treasury has a computer rigging floor, and the New York Federal Reserve has a computer rigging floor. And then they use their member banks, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, Citibank. They go out there and do the rigging and the legwork. That's why JP Morgan always gets off. They can commit as many crimes as they want, and they always don't have to. They have to pay money, but they make so much more by having the inside scoop on where the government's going to rig the next market. So really exciting. I think ultimately the end game for the market riggers is the silver manipulation ending, as in the price goes from $17 to $700 to $7,000 in a blink of an eye. And a blink of an eye can be a matter of months. But remember, the derivatives is what's going to get silver. It's not the price of physical. It's the derivative market will blow sideways. And that's a big, big market, especially on the LBMA. It says they trade $5 trillion a year in silver, but it's all silver derivatives. They say it's physical silver, but we all know it's derivatives. All right, draining the swamp. Trump administration blows $11 billion of the last week of the fiscal year. Spend it or lose it. Yes, Trump is doing the same thing that every president since has been, running the monetary system like it's going out of style, and that's the whole idea. Run it, use it while you have it, crash the system, and start fresh. Clearly, the deep state wants to get Rex Tillerson out. They're throwing all kind of crap out. He might go. I don't know if Tillerson's a good guy or bad guy. Most likely, he's working with the bad guys on the side of, because he's an ex oil guy, and that's how they controlled the U.S. dollar for 40, 50 years, is the forcing every nation, by the military, forcing every nation to trade oil in U.S. dollars, creating artificial demand for the world's only reserve currency, the U.S. dollar. And that's falling apart. And that's what Roota found in the Roota comics. That's what the black tears represent. When the flowers die, they shed these black tears. That's all about the oil standard, the petro standard, and the con to get Saudi Arabia, to get other nations in OPEC, and force them all to sell oil only in U.S. dollars. I hear Saudi Arabia is now turning to Russia and China for both security and to trade their oil in things other than U.S. dollars. Venezuela's already come out and said to China that they want to do oil trades in anything other than U.S. dollars. They're not going to. Venezuela has no choice. they can't support the U.S. The U.S. is trying to destroy Venezuela, so they're gonna, of course, they're gonna turn to other currencies for their oil. Usually, the U.S. attacks militarily at some point. If you read John Perkinson's book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, that's what happens. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the U.S. claiming some humanitarian need to invade Venezuela. All right. Let's see. Again, Tillerson, who knows what's going on there? He might be a bad guy, and Trump might be saying, "All right, you're out." We'll find out soon enough. Later today, I'll be posting the Friday road trip for private road members. I'm going to go over my timing for silver and the cryptos and the destruction of the system. My current timing, kind of a step by step. I'm going to go month by month until the end of the year. Is what I've been working on, and give you kind of a heads up as to what I think is going to happen over the next few months and into 2018. Anyway, this is Big Weir, roadtoRoota.com. Hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll talk to you later.